Hey everyone, Dan at Bushcraft. Well, if you go back through my videos, about 2 years ago, I did a video called My Bushcraft Belt. And in that video, I showed the gear that I carried with me on my belt when I was out, camping out. And I would use that gear to go out and to bring in resources and to do work in the area out and around camp. Well, over the past few months, I have basically reworked my bushcraft belt, redesigned it, bought some new gear, changed some things out. And so I want to share with you guys my new bushcraft belt. Now, if you go to the comments, I will have listed the different places that I have gotten the gear so that you guys can find it if you see anything you like. So basically, I'm out here in a place where I've decided to set up camp. And now that I've located a place for my camp, I want to go out and start gathering resources. I'm going to need some poles for the shelter that I've decided to put up today. I'm also going to want to gather in some firewood, maybe a few tree boughs and some other things. So as I go out and I circle through this area you see back behind me, and then also back behind where the camera is, as I circle around through this area looking for resources and bringing them back to camp, there are tools that I'm going to need to gather those resources. So this is my outfit for going out and gathering resources, looking around the area, seeing what's available. I'm not really going out on a long scout per se, but I am going to be scouting around the local area close to my camp, gathering resources, seeing what materials are available, wildlife sign, fresh deer, elk tracks, whatnot. Just taking in the area, learning the area, and again, gathering resources. So, two items that I consider to be a part of the belt, even though they're not on the belt, are an oilcloth bag to put stuff in. There's a pouch up here, and I will usually, when I head out, I'll take my leather gloves and I'll shove my leather gloves up in here because I don't want to have a handful of splinters, and I might even be gathering up some stinging nettles or something for dinner later. And then, of course, I've got a large pocket here, which one of the things I'll be out looking for is fat wood, tinder, things like that to get a fire going. So the oilcloth bag, I just keep this folded up inside my backpack. Shove that down in my pack, and when I get to an area that I'm going to set up camp and I get ready to go out and look for resources, I'll get it out, throw it over my shoulder, and I said fat wood, wild edibles, fine tinder if I'm gonna do a flint and steel fire, other items that I might find that I want to use, maybe some things to carve with. Other thing is, I'm not real far from camp, so when I get hungry, if I'm out for more than an hour or two or whatever, I can walk back to camp and have a meal. But I'm going to get thirsty as I travel. This is kind of a traditional style water carrier. This is from a place called Badger Claw Leatherworks or Badger Claw Outfitters. I've got just a regular Pathfinder bottle in it. They make a couple different styles for regular canteen and 32-ounce bottle. But I said, I'm out gathering materials, especially if it's hot out here, and I'm packing back some poles and different things. I want water with me. So I just throw this over my shoulder and it becomes a part of my bushcraft belt outfit. Okay, the belt itself is Hank's belt off of Amazon, lifetime warranty. They call this one the U.S. Marshals belt. It's got the double buckle and it's a 2-inch wide belt, and I like it because it's really heavy duty, and again it has that lifetime warranty. Everything that I carry fits on it well. Grand Force Brook Hatchet. If I'm bringing back poles, I'm going to be delimbing them, and I do not want to be dragging them through the brush with limbs catching on everything. So before I even start dragging poles back to camp to put up my shelter, I'm going to get rid of the limbs, and I really like my Grand Force Brook for that. Also use it for helping me to process fat wood and other things that I might need in camp. And of course, for sawing those poles, my good old Bahco saw, and also for getting fat wood. Now, a while back, guys, I started using the saws from Silky, which I was not familiar with those saws, and I ran into a problem with them along the way. The teeth, when I was processing fat wood, would just get gummed up with the pitchy fat wood terrible, to the point that they would almost completely stop sawing. And then I would have to take them out, and I was constantly having to clean them, and even take like a nail or something sharp down between the teeth to pry out the globs of pitchy wood. Well, with my Bahco, that has never happened. I might get just a little bit up here on the side, but normally, I mean, I'm sawing and I just rub it on my pants a few times, and the teeth are clean, and it keeps right on going. So for that reason, I have switched back to my Bahco, and it is part of my Bushcraft belt. Other side, I'll come to the pouch last so I can kind of give you guys a little loadout of what's in it. But I usually have either my Essie PR4 or my Becker BK16. I love them both, and I switch back and forth. I'll use one for a while, then I'll start missing the other one, and I'll grab it and put it back on my belt. Today, I've got the Becker BK16, and it'll be doing whatever work I want. This is one that Sagebrush Customs put a 90-degree spine on for me and a patina on it, so makes a nice little fire starter with my ferro rod. On the back of my belt here, I'll slide it around, is a canvas first aid pouch. And if you're going to carry a blade, you should have first aid. You never know when the blade's going to slip, and you're going to need to doctor up a wound. So I have basic bandages, gauze pads, some steri strips, an irrigation syringe. You know, if I get a cut, I can clean out the wound right away. I've got gauze, and I can make a, compression bandage on it, get the bleeding stopped, get it cleaned out. I've got some steri strips to hold it closed if I need to. National Outdoor Leadership Schools, NOLS. If you go on their website, for about 12 bucks, they have what is called a wound management kit. I use that as the base for all my small first aid kits. I have one in my pack. I have one that travels with me. I have one in this little first aid kit back here. It comes with the syringe, steri strips, gauze pads, things to clean out the wound, antibiotic ointment, and then just add some band-aids and a few other things to that, and you're set. So finally, last thing is I call it my Mountain Man pouch. This is another item that Badger Claw Leatherworks made. Let's see, from Badger Claw Leatherworks, this pouch, the hatchet holder that's on my belt, the water bottle carrier that I showed you guys. These are all things that I got from them. My local leather shop here in Prineville, Oregon, they did the sheath for me for the folding saw on a dangler. They did the sheath for me on the knife. The canvas first aid pouch is also Badger Leatherworks. So in this pouch, my little Mountain Man pouch, if you will, are things that I might want to use when I'm out on a scout. Okay, my compass. Now, I may not start out to get very far from camp, but plans change. And there's been a time or two where I've hiked out and discovered that just over the hill there was a whole nother valley down below me. And I start thinking, man, I might even want to move my camp down there, but I'm not going to pack my pack and everything down there until I at least scout it. So I've got my compass with me, so I can take a bearing, maybe go down, look at it a little bit, come back up. Or if I end up going a little farther than I'd planned for resources, it just helps me to get back to camp. Okay, I have Leatherman Super Tool 300 that I keep in there. It just gives me a lot of extra tools, with the back of the saw as well as the back of the file. I've got another way to strike the ferro rod. I've just got, like I said, a wide variety of tools in here, an extra knife blade, wire cutters, which could possibly be needed. Just, it's handy to have it in here. I have a bandana, and when I am gathering fine materials, maybe some shavings, whatnot, I'll often just fill up my bandana full of all of that fine material, and then just kind of make it into a little bag basically. And it's full of, maybe I've got cattail down in there, maybe as I was sawing a piece of fatwood, I collected all of the sawdust as it fell and I've put it in here. Whatever I might want to put in here, and then I'll put that down inside that oilcloth bag and bring those materials back to camp. Also, if I'm out gathering resources, I'm also after firewood. So if you guys go back through my videos, you'll see I did a bushcraft quick tip video on how to make a firewood carrier. Basically just 2 pieces of wood about so long, tied together with some bank line, and how I would fill that full of firewood, make it into a handle and carry it back. And so I have a couple pieces of the bank line with me already cut. All I need is just 2 limbs, short limbs, and I'll make a firewood carrier, load it up, and start hauling my firewood back to camp. So I've got a couple of those in there. If I should get away from camp and need a fire for some reason, I've got my ferro rod and some fire plugs, which work very, very well. I've really come to like these things. And a piece of fatwood, and as you can see, I've been working on this one quite a bit. It is about to the point where I'm going to have to replace it, but always got a piece of fatwood in there. And some cordage, just some extra cordage in case I need to maybe tie a couple poles together or things that I found that I want to drag back to camp. So I've got a little bit of cordage. Another piece of fatwood I just shoved down in here. And last thing I have in here that I will use is I have a long piece of pink ribbon. Now, if I am going to travel farther than I planned, maybe like I said, I've climbed over this little hill from camp and I'm looking, and there's a valley down below. I'll get a compass bearing, follow that bearing down, know what my back bearing is, and then I get down to that valley and I decide I want to make a big circle, come back to my bearing, and then go back up to camp. I'll tie this off in a visible place from a tree, a bush, something where I can keep it in my sight. It's out in the open, and then I'll make a circle around the area, keeping this in my sight, looking over, seeing what's down in this valley, come back to my ribbon, know that when my back is at this ribbon, my back bearing will take me directly back to my camp. So it's just basically a sight marker. But I've used it. I've hiked down a lot farther than I had originally planned on more than one occasion, and this little sight marker makes it easy to get down into a new area, explore it, and then get my back bearing and go right back up to camp. So this is basically my Bushcraft Belt loadout. I'm calling it Bushcraft Belt 2.0 because if you go back to the old video and look at it, you'll see I've made some changes. Um, you know, instead of carrying, I have a large knife. It's actually attached to my backpack, which is sitting right down here. I'm usually got my SE Hungless 2 out, or today I happen to have a Becker BK9 with me. But it seems like when I'm out getting resources, my hatchet is my main go-to tool for, you know, delimbing, cleaning up some poles and whatnot. So instead of the large knife, I have a hatchet. You'll see a few other changes, a few other additions, but works really well. Works really well, and that's what I'm going to do now. As I said, I've found a place to set up camp back up here, and I'm going to go start gathering resources. I've got my pack sitting here, got my canvas or my oilcloth tarp with me today. So I want to get some poles. I'm going to put the tarp up and scout the area for resources and bring in what I can use. Guys, thanks for watching. And as I said, if you go to the comments, I'll do my best to just put down the brand names of where you can find the different pieces of gear if you see something that you'd like to add to your kit. Take care, guys.